taking me? What is this place?
Mary is accused of a crime she never committed.
Have you never seen a prison before?
I do not have the ring.
She's banished from her country, along with her father.
God works with closed doors as well as open ones.
It's a journey that could crush Mary's faith.
If your God is here, then why is he letting you go through all this?
A dangerous journey that will take her far beyond what she ever imagined.
Father! He's not waking up! Oh, God, please help me!
Lamplighter Theater presents The Basket of Flowers, the latest drama in this exciting new family radio series.
Please, God, hear my prayer.
The Basket of Flowers, first written in the 1700s. And now, this special book, beloved by families all over the world, is coming to your radio station. Lamplighter Theater.
And now, Fastened Like Nails with Dr. Mark Hamby.
Welcome to Fastened Like Nails, and today in the studio with me, Molly Mayo.
Hello.
Hey, Molly, I'm excited about today because we're going to talk about something that I think is going to be very helpful to folks that are trying to get maybe their children to be focused, have focused attention, or maybe you're an employer and you have someone that's not all in, not 100%, part of the organization. And so what do you do with an individual that's just not all they're not giving their all?
I think the Bible calls that double-minded, or even just like there's verses that talk about you can't serve two masters.
I like that one.
Love the one and hate the other. And I think just to kind of bounce off of that a little bit, we often, even just being distracted in our minds, I know that's something that some of us face just every day. You're like sitting down to do something like even just Bible study, and your mind is split in half, and you're thinking about other things, you're not giving it your full attention. So what do you do in those situations, and how can you have single-minded focus, which was the crux of the devotion you were talking about this morning?
I remember one year we had a student that kept getting phone calls, during the day. It was like, what is going on here? And it was during their work time. And they were taking a phone call. I remember talking to them, what's going on? Usually I'd be a little bit more harsh and say, hey, cut the phone out.
Yeah.
But I wanted to find out what was going on. And they said to me, I have a friend back home that is suicidal. And they keep calling me and asking for prayer. You would think that would be legitimate, right? That, okay, don't do your work. You have a friend that's calling you. So you think that's a legitimate reason not to be working?
I don't personally, no.
Tell me why.
Some of those situations can pop up. If that were to continue, it would lead towards codependency. It seems like, yes, we do need to pray for one another and we do need to lift one another up. But when it's becoming a habitual, reoccurring thing, that's showing something's wrong, something's off. And I think just even my own life personally, sometimes we were talking about sometimes your greatest strength is your greatest weakness.
And this person's greatest strength was caring for other people. Amazing. This person, yes.
Yeah, and if that swings too far to the other side of the pendulum, it's you have a burden for people and then you can be ruled by other people. And so I think in this situation here...
You almost start taking the place of God.
Yes. Yeah, and that's something I think we have to realize. If you have a huge burden for people, you want to step in, you want to help them out, you want to solve their problems. But what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a place that, like, God is the one who fulfills our needs and our deepest longings and our heart's cries, right? So, for instance, for the Master's Guild or even for our internship program, our students are here for a very short amount of time in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's very, very short, 2 semesters, 3 months each. And we do ask them, every single student, every single intern, are you going to be all in? There's not a space for a second job. There's even like with dating relationships, we walk that with them. Like this is going to be an all in sort of thing. And with that mindset, because the time is short, the Bible talks about like redeeming the time, we need to let the Lord take care of our family members and our friends during that time, during that little season. And it's trusting the Lord with them, because who knows who may step in, who needs to at home, or in family members. We see this even just with people who are growing up in the home, and then there's a natural phase out, like a sister gets married and moves out. Other people step up, and that's just a natural law of things. And so...
And if you don't allow other people to step up, then you restrict the working of the Holy Spirit in other people's lives to step up to that plate in
Yes.
that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
You were telling me earlier, I think, that this has happened to you in your own life.
Yeah. I think that just with different situations in my own life, it's very easy to just step in and be like, yeah, I'm going to help them. I'm going to be there for them. I'm going to do all these things.
And you're a lot like that. You are a helper. I mean, you like to help people.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I think who knows but what the Lord might do when you step out of the way and let God have his work. And, even though we want to help people sometimes, and I feel like a lot of mothers who are, in the Word, and they're like, my mom does this really well. When they're really doing that well, they're equipping their children for adulthood. And you've been talking a lot this week about like, be strong, act like men, show yourself a man, different things like that. Even Paul talks about put off childish things and become a man. Part of that is, your relationship with the Lord is number one. It has to be. And if someone is getting in the way of that, then something's wrong. That's just idolatry or whatever. But we really have to face some of those things head on.
So Paul writes and says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, I acted like a child. But when I became a man, and I think becoming a man or a young woman is putting away childish things. That's what Paul says. He says, I put away childish things. And to put away childish things is becoming self-disciplined. That means that someone else no longer has to discipline you for yourself.
That's good.
Yeah. And so when we become self-disciplined, we discipline ourselves. We don't need others to discipline us. Therefore, we enter adulthood based on a person becoming self-disciplined.
100%. Jim Elliot said, wherever you are, be all there. And then I think he follows it up with something that we don't realize as much, and it was like live to the hilt every situation.
He said that?
Yeah, that was the next
I
part
love
of
that.
it. I loved it too, and it was so brilliant because he demonstrated that well. Been kind of studying him a little bit, but
What book were you reading?
it's the book Devotedly by their daughter Valerie Shepard, and it's the culmination of the love story between Jim and Elizabeth. But what you really see is not just like a love story, love letters or whatever, but two people who were completely sold out for Jesus, who, they were in love with each other, but there was a full year. But in this 1 year, they were fully committed to their calling with the Lord.
Wow.
And they used to write like once a week when they were younger. But then as they really started to read the Word, they would spend an hour. Each one of them personally would spend an hour in quiet with the Lord. And they would pray, and they would, Jim Elliot used the term exercise. He says young people need to exercise daily. He would always use that for earnestly striving in prayer with the Lord about the will of God. And he didn't want to move forward if something wasn't the will of God. So he wanted to go to Ecuador. And for 1 year, the Lord closed the door and said, no, you're not going to do that. So then he ended up working on building projects. And he was working in radio ministry. And for months, he went through like this dark night of the soul. He said, I'm not seeing spiritual fruit. He was like finding a job, doing different like random things. And he just was really depressed about this. And that wasn't his character. He was usually a passionate, excited person, like, yeah, everything's like on fire.
Yeah.
And for the first time, he was out in radio ministry, and he didn't know if he was having any fruit. He didn't know if it was bearing anything. He was just showing up, being faithful. And Elizabeth wrote him, and this was the first time that she was encouraging him, because usually he was like encouraging her. And what she said was, sometimes in our lives when the Lord is walking us through, maybe we need to have a deeper relationship with him. He'll strip us of the feeling close to him or the joys, the blessings, all these different things to see, are you really going to turn to me? Are you really going to make me your number one? And this was all preparation for him going into the jungle work by himself. That's what the Lord was calling him to do. And during this time, he started coming up with mantras, and he came up with, God is calling me to building project work wherever I go, and he writes down, God is calling me to missionary work. And so he's just like, you can see the Lord gave him all this insight through that.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That reminds me of the verse in 1 Corinthians 9:16 says, for though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of, for necessity is laid upon me. I love that idea of, that God has given me this constraint, this distress, and the word literally means distress, meaning like I have to do this or I would die, And so I think when we have a calling and we understand that God's called me to do, no matter how difficult it is, no matter what you have to face, like here at Lamplighter, this is my calling. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That this has been my calling for my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, I was a principal of a Christian school for a while, but all of that was in preparation to do this at Lamplighter. It's really been amazing. So necessity has been placed upon me. Whether I got paid or not, I'd still be doing this because I love this so much.
Yeah.
And so how does a person get that calling?
That's so good. And I think your life story is such a legacy too. Where you started off, I think so many young people could benefit from hearing about your journey with going to different colleges, working hard, saving up, being like, okay, Lord, what is it? All I know is that I have a passion for the Word of God and I have a passion for these books that I'm reading. And then now to be publishing and to inspire
Audio
that in
dramas
others.
and
Yeah.
the school.
I really do think, though, the Bible talks a lot about being faithful in the small things. And I think the biggest piece of advice I would say to anyone right now is be faithful wherever you are. You know, because so many times we have these desires in our hearts and we're like anxious to get on them, especially living in America and everything's just fast paced and we're like ready for it. But really learn to be faithful and content where you are. And the Lord is so good at like turning your life on a dime. At any moment, He can like just shift and do something in your life, you know? And
That's awesome.
it's exciting.
Yeah, it really is. And so let's go back a little bit. So we had this student that wasn't all in, thinking he had to attend to the needs of somebody else that was calling him. And by doing that, he may be restricting someone else from stepping up to the plate that could be with that friend face to face rather than on the phone.
Yeah, or with that friend, is the friend relying on his friends? Or is the friend relying on God? Because those are deep issues of the heart. And yes, you know, having someone pray for you is important and that's good. But is he turning to God first? Because it's easy to turn to your friends.
The book that you mentioned earlier was written by Elizabeth Elliot's daughter, Valerie. And the name of the book again was?
It's Devotedly by Valerie Shepard.
And if anyone listening has never read anything from Elizabeth Elliot, her book Passion and Purity is an excellent book to read if you're single, even if you're married. It's a great book to read. Also, there's a little book that she wrote, booklet called Me, Obey Him. And so in light of what we're talking about, this goes into marriage as well. You know, if God's called you to be married, you know, you may be struggling with your spouse. You may feel unloved. You may feel like, I'm not happy, I want to get out of this. So when God's called us to something, we've got to be all in. You know, whether it's marriage, whether it's a job. I was talking with a man yesterday. This is so fun. He was being interviewed for a position here at Lamplighter. And he didn't have any of the skills, but he really wanted the job badly. And I listened to him, prayed with him, and then talked to him about his family. His family wasn't quite there spiritually. They're going through some struggles. And the job that he has also has other parts to the organization. Because he said, I want to do something different. And I said to him, have you ever asked your employer if you could be working in some of the other areas in the organization? He goes, I never thought of that. And I said, well, listen, rather than moving here to Lamplighter and starting something new. I said, first of all, if your family is just unhealthy spiritually right now, you need to get your family in a good church, get them grounded. They need to be taken care of. Secondly, if you're looking for bigger opportunities, go talk to your employer and say, I want to grow in other areas. Is there anything else here that I can do? Even if you got to volunteer and learn new skills, go for it. He goes, wow. He goes, I never thought of that. I said, here you are wanting to move away from your position when you have an opportunity right before your very eyes. He's not disgruntled, but he said, I don't like my job. I said, when you leave somewhere, you want to leave at the very pinnacle.
Yeah.
Before you leave, you want your employer to say, you're irreplaceable. We can never lose you. Because then if you're going to leave, you're leaving knowing that you did your very best and you have become an irreplaceable person. So that's the only time to leave.
And then if that doesn't happen, you'll carry that into your next job.
Absolutely.
Because job satisfaction, it starts in the heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're disgruntled, you want to get away from problems, that's the worst time to leave.
We've hired people like that.
And I've always paid a price, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of our conversation, he was like, wow, he goes, this has been a real eye-opener. And I said, it would be kind of like a little bit of a risk, but I think you do amazing here. I said, but I just don't sense that this is the best time in your life to be making a move like that. And he's just real thankful we prayed. And, rather than just, hey, I'm not going to be able to hire you, the answer is no.
Yeah.
We really got to minister
Be
to
able
his
to
heart.
take the opportunity. That's awesome.
So, Molly, let's bring this back full circle. Paul says, if I preach not the gospel of Christ, necessity has been placed upon me. And so when you have that sense of responsibility, accountability, ownership, when you know God's called you to do something, there's nothing that's going to stop you from doing it. The one thing that is needful, watch this. This is in verse 25. And every man that strives for mastery is temperate in all things. So we need to, if we're going to take ownership of something, you've got to become a master in this. And this summer, we're going to be having the Summer Guild with master teachers who have all striven for mastery. And our theme this year is what?
Making of a masterpiece.
If you want to be a masterpiece, then it's going to require something. And this is what it requires.
Yeah, that's good.
Paul says, every man that strives for mastery is temperate in all things. The word mastery, Molly, the root word is the word for agony. Agonizomai is the Greek word, and it's to struggle. It's to compete for a prize. It's to contend with an adversary. It's to endeavor with all your strength to fight, to labor, to be fervent. And so this is an amazing word. If you want to become a masterpiece, if you want to become a master, if you want to take ownership of something, you're fully in. You have necessity laid upon you. The only way that is going to happen in life is if you have this agonizing, relentless pursuit of excellence in your life.
That's good.
That's what Leonardo da Vinci had, Michelangelo had. They were part of a community, an educational community called Agon, which is the word for agony. An agonizing, relentless pursuit of excellence. And so when you're in a job, when you're maybe a young teenager, whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. Give it everything you've got. And so I think that in and of itself, when a person has that mindset, they're going to be greatly successful in life.
Yeah. I think that's a really good mindset to have when you are looking to master something, to realize it will take agony, because otherwise that can be kind of discouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. Notice the second word, 1 Corinthians 9:25. It says you must be temperate in all things. You must have self-discipline. You must have self-restraint in your diet, in your morals. You must have this focus of self-discipline in order to become a master. You don't become a master just because you want to become a master.
Eric Ludi, in one of his books, wrote something that haunts me to this day. And he said, if you snooze the alarm, like as soon as you wake up, if you sleep in, he says you've already, like if you've started your day with compromise. And if you've started your day with compromise, how do you think the rest of your day is going to go? And I'm like,
That's good.
It's so easy, but it's so important.
So, Molly, here at Lamplighter, we read a lot of books.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there any book that you can think of that goes along with this theme that we're talking about?
Self-discipline?
Mastery, self-discipline.
There are so many.
Well, you've been reading a lot lately.
Are you talking about like Lamplighter books or the books I've been reading?
It could be any.
Okay, yeah. I'm thinking The Artist is one of them by Amy Lefevre. That was a new one recently. And also...
That's an amazing book, by the way.
Yeah.
Because she strives for mastery, but in the wrong way. So that's an eye-opener book. So if you've got somebody that is in the arts and they're kind of compromising with their life, that is an excellent book called The Artist.
Yeah, The Artist by Amy Lefevre. We talked about the God of Story. That is mastery, I think, when you not only just study script writing, but realize that the Bible is the best book written of all time. And when we learn to see how masterful, how masterfully woven together Scripture is, it will radically change how you are as an artist,
so that's
as
called
a creative.
The God of Story by...
Daniel Schwabauer.
Yep, Dr. Dan Schwabauer, who will be one of our master teachers this summer at the Summer Guild. One of the books that Lamplighter publishes, it's kind of a cute story where this young boy, he is going to receive an inheritance, but before he receives it, he's got to read a trunk of books, and the book is called?
Willie's Trunk.
Willie's Trunk. It's an amazing
I
story.
like that one a lot. If anyone's ever like, oh, I don't like to read, that's the one we recommend because
Yeah.
this boy doesn't like to read either.
Yeah, that's a great
and
one.
he has to learn that.
We should do an audio drama with that one someday.
That would be really fun, I think. That would be a nice short one.
And, of course, Sir Malcolm and the Missing Prince, learning the skills of mastery. In fact,
Yes,
that one
yeah.
part in the drama, both in the audio drama and in the book,
Yeah.
where he is learning to finally
Chop the axe.
Chop wood.
Oh, sorry, chop the axe. Chop the wood.
Chop wood. Yeah, that is a great part. Let's listen to that part.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yes.
Swing.
Oh.
Well, you made a nice hole in the ground. You should try to pull your hands up a little on the handle.
Oh. Like this?
Yes. Now swing.
All right. I am sorry.
That was a good throw. That tree over there needs to be cut down anyway. You simply gave us a good start.
Yes, I did. Well, I do not work so well with my hands.
I did the same things when I first started. Here, we will try again. Like this. As my father says, show me a man diligent in his work, and he will stand before kings. If you keep diligent at chopping, perhaps one day you will stand before kings.
Yes, perhaps.
I love the lesson that he learns.
Yeah.
And then, let's let the audience listen to what happens when he finally gets it. And Dame Martha is saying, why are you out here late at night? And he's got this new spirit of excitement in his work.
Swing back and strike the wood in the middle. Almost.
You? My boy, what foolhardy deed brings you out here in the middle of the night?
I'm chopping wood, Dame Martha. See?
Well, can you see the wood you chop?
A bit, by the moonlight. And I'm getting better. Watch. Usually hit the wood.
Yes. Can this not wait until morning?
You need wood now. That is why I'm out here chopping.
So, woodcutting by the moonlight is your chore of choice.
Yes.
Well, we do indeed need the wood. Thank you, Hugh. I will see you in the morning. Now, you be careful, dear.
I will. Upon morning, I shall have the entire forest cleared.
I'm sure you will.
The folks that are listening to this right now, I think this is something our children need to learn, that when you finally accomplish something and you learn a new skill, it brings the greatest sense of fulfillment and joy and meaning in someone's life, and that's what's missing today in a large part. And I watch with our young people. So yesterday, here in Western New York, June 18th, we had a pretty violent storm here yesterday.
Yeah, crazy windstorm. We lost power.
Wind and rain. When it rained, the rain was so hard, you couldn't see the building 10 feet away from you. It was just raining so hard. Anyways, I sent 3 of our young interns. They're 19, 20 years old. And they were doing mulch yesterday. And when it started violently coming down, I got a little concerned, and I called one of them on the phone. I was thinking they would all be in the garage, in protection and so forth. When I called them on the phone, I could hear in the background laughing and giggling and yelling, and they were having like the time of their life. Anyways, they videotaped it and brought it back to me.
That's awesome.
And they were working in this violent storm, mulching around the gardens. And they said, you told us to give it everything that we had. And they said that we were learning to just become masters in the rain. And they were just having the funnest time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think that really, some people just get a little afraid of little things, little rain. They'll go golfing in the rain, and they'll go to a football game in the rain, but, to work in the rain. And we don't do that all the time here at Lamplighter, but it was great to see these young men, really having that resolve in their life. One more book, Molly. What is it?
God of the Garden by Andrew Peterson. That one really inspired me personally, but in it he talks about how important creation is and how God is a master gardener, and how when we incorporate those things in our life, like creatively, or even just, he was an amazing painter, musician, songwriter. He wrote fiction and nonfiction. And so I think he really taps into a little bit of like what you always talk about with Solomon, Doctor, where really I'm looking at his sketches of trees and art, and I'm like, whoa, he's really pursuing excellence in his craft. And it inspires me.
Really cool. Okay, well, Molly, mastery, ownership. And in order to have that, a necessity needs to be laid upon us. And the only way that will happen if we have an agonizing, relentless pursuit of excellence in our life. And that is how we get to know God intimately, so we can proclaim Him passionately and enjoy Him infinitely. God bless.
You've been listening to Fastened Like Nails, a presentation of Lamplighter Ministries. Our mission is to make ready a people prepared for the Lord by building Christ-like character, one story at a time. To learn more about our family collection of rare books, dramatic audios, or guild programs, visit lamplighter.net. To hear more podcasts, search for Fastened Like Nails wherever you listen to podcasts.